What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit about the idea of perfection and how you can start to use that to kind of apply to everything that's happening to you right now. With that, you're able to get out of a lot of resistance and like resisting what is and trying to put your own beliefs and assumptions onto reality versus just being open to the idea that infinite intelligence is perfectly bringing to you what you're holding in your consciousness, good or bad. So it's like, not to say that it's great when things are abusive or like there's just unnecessary conflict and drama. Not to say that's like a perfect thing, but it's being drawn to you. Like, you don't have to accept it, but looking at it as, oh, well, this is corresponding to a belief and assumption within my consciousness. And as soon as I revise that belief or the assumption to be more empowering, to be in more of alignment with who you are in Christ, the more that will start to reflect through this bridge of incidents. It's easier and easier to get out of your drama filled mind and like wishing things were different and like constantly just comparing and judging and all these kinds of unhelpful mental attitudes. But when you start to let go of that and just realize that everything that's unfolding right now and now is part of a perfect process that's leading you to less resistance, dropping a lot of fear and hysteria, a lot of times then you can start to be more and more comfortable with letting go of needing to control things, needing the outcome to be a specific way, comparing yourself to other people. Like, oh, I seen how God unfolded this state of the state that they're demonstrating with the by their life in this particular way. But then the drama starts to happen when you start to try to mimic that exact same thing in your own self. Because we're so unique, everybody's path to that state of consciousness is unique. It becomes pointless to try to follow anybody else's career path, if that makes sense, or like, oh, this is how they demonstrated this, so that I'm going to follow this exactly. Not to say you can't like glean some sort of understanding or their mindset and faith about a particular thing. I listen to a lot of people that are in like health and fitness because I'm actively trying to get more and more in alignment with that. I've lost, I don't know, 25 pounds. I just went to the gym yesterday, and I weighed in about 25 pounds. I still got to lose another 10 to get to like the target, which I can feel. I can feel that already kind of manifesting more and more so each day. And kind of how I went about doing that was redefining like these like sensations. It's like, oh, looking at how the body already is kind of informing you of what it needs. So it's like going through periods of either feeling hungry, feeling neutral, or feeling full. Each one of those has a mental story attached to it if you look at it in your own self. And so kind of the story that I've started to revise it is like, well, if I can be at a deficit of feeling a little bit more hungry than full or content, then I like a net negative for the day, and then just redo that every day. It's only ever now. So it's like, how, and not only that, but then looking at the stories that are going on with like maybe negative self-talk when it comes to like health and illness. It's like, oh, well, this is going to give me this kind of disease if I continue on this path, and all these kinds of shit talking, ultimately like creating the undesirable unconsciously, which is what most people before they become aware are doing. This looking at things that it's unfolding as perfectly. It's like, well, Mike, well, what about this person who's got this like fatal disease and they're on death's door, and you're saying that's perfect? It's like, well, obviously, you don't have to accept that as being perfect, but it's a result of a correspondence, which is perfectly playing out. So it's like, not to say undesirable things are perfect, but how that manifested is part of a repeatable, testable thing that you can do in your own self. You're already doing it. So it's like whatever's like coming to confront you in the present moment was planted in your consciousness in the preceding past, this beliefs about you, your identity, consciously and unconsciously, are constantly confronting you in the present moment. And so when you start looking at things as, oh, this is playing out perfectly, I don't have to agree with it, but it's showing me something of my shadow is one way to look at it. Especially if it's like showing you maybe some like something that's like striking you as like, oh, this is maybe evil, or this is fearful, or this is like self destructive, or whatever it's like you're being shown in the mirror of your life. You can look at that and it's like, okay, well, that's part of my shadow. That's part of like what's being projected onto the screen of space that is not who I am anymore. But there's some healing that needs to take place to let that go, so I can experience a new reflection of life. So it's like looking at everything that you're doing, all these key areas. It's like your relationships, your health, your money situation, your marriage, your family, all of these areas, looking at them all as like symbolic of consciousness. And ultimately your relationship with God is important, because God is the source for all of these things. And the more that you realize that, and that source is within you, you're always saying it to, like, if you think of like this process is like almost like water on some level, as being part of like the quantum field, as like Joe Dispenza would say. It's like it's just this stream, this yeah, just like this pool of water, and it's like every thought and belief throws like a pebble into the water, and it ripples out. Then it like gets projected out, and then bounces back, and you see it. And so, if you don't like what you're seeing, or if people are just being fucking weird and just constantly just like almost feeling satanic, because it's like you're only engaging with your shadow. A lot of it has to do with, for one, your identity. For two, your assumption about creation. And it's all, again, it's your beliefs and your assumptions being externalized. And so it's like the moment that you start to realize that things are coming perfectly to you, you might get like a new desire, or some thought, some corresponding idea that's coming from ultimately the state that you're being. Starts getting thoughts. It's like as you're taking new action, you start getting a lot of the limiting beliefs and assumptions that are kind of holding you at like a specific state of consciousness will start to bubble to the surface of your consciousness, to heal, to start to either revise, let go of, or start to create more and more of a mindset that you'd like to have. The easiest way I feel like I've found is just to not even sit there and battle and resist these ideas, these thoughts, but to start to look at everything as like, oh, even these thoughts are being originated from infinite intelligence. Everything that's coming to me in the present moment is a direct result of law of this correspondence that God is in control of. And the more that you just like trust in infinite intelligence, which is love, and not fear, that only love is real, so everything that's happening to you is part of this development of consciousness to grow into a state of consciousness that will reflect this ideal that you're looking to demonstrate. That's all part of this creative flow. And so when you put things on pedestals, for example, it's like with like doing music, it's easy to put things on pedestals because you can see people that you've been like, I wouldn't say obsessing about, but just like as somebody who's into music, that's like really kind of been balls deep in that for decades now. It's like a lot of awareness on different bands that are very obscure session musicians that like generally people aren't privy to, I guess. Just like this kind of awareness to all these different things, and you see all these people like, oh, that'd be awesome to get to that level, so I could do that too, because I feel like that would be fun, or that would be fill in the blank. Well, realize that you can be, do, and have anything, but on the path to reaching a specific state, you need to get your consciousness to match that state, and so it's infinite intelligence that starts to develop you in that. So it's like you don't got to figure it out; it's being done to you. And the moment that you start to realize that, oh, everything's unfolding perfectly, I'm unique, that I don't need to be like that other person. I don't really need that kind of validation. The only reason I'm doing it, and you, whatever your reasoning is, it's not for anybody else to judge. What you're doing is between you and God ultimately, because you're demonstrating who God created you to be, which is an unfolding process that we're kind of getting more and more levels of awareness about, but also demonstrating it in our life. And so it's important to me, I guess, getting away from hopeless people, depressed people. Not to say that it's like I don't feel like sorry for them or whatever, but it's like the problem is the mindset. So the correction is in the mindset, and the problem and the solution comes at the same time. And a lot of it is just in choosing to take a new action, to choose to be at peace instead of angry, to be choose to feel unique instead of like comparing yourself and trying to be a hive-minded thing, like the world likes to do. It's like the world in itself is almost like an example of what not to do. It's contrast, I guess, on some level where you say you can't really define yourself like setting a boundary of like I don't like that. Because it's easy to say, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that, but you're also like demonstrating who you are by demonstrating what you don't like. Even though God created everything in creation, it's all happening now. There's still contrast because I feel like God is doing a lot of the same type of thing, just thinking about creation and God's own personality. I don't know. It's like, if you knew everything about everything, what is there to do? What else is there to do besides expand continuously? Expanding into more love. Fear is always constricting and you can feel it as you're kind of experiencing. I kind of feel it. When it was like going into having a surgery here soon. It's like I can feel the fear. There's lots of things I feel fear about, but I do it I face it anyway. It's like a lot of times I take on a big job. There's like some anxiety and fear of like, oh, what if this goes wrong, or what if I damage something, or what if I become liable for some whatever, or it's like playing the guitar. It's like, oh, especially playing in front of people. It's like, oh, what if I screw up? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I have a technical thing going on? Because like a lot of times, like when I'll play guitar in front of people, I don't know what it really sounds like to the audience. It's like that's kind of for the sound people in the booth to kind of figure that out, and you just have to trust they know what they're doing, I guess. And so it's like yeah, I can hear it back in my headphones and stuff, but it's like I can monitor it, so it's like I don't know what the mix actually sounds like from the crowd's perspective, but like but then just do it anyway. It's like once you face fear enough times, you realize that part of like what makes things fun and exciting is like feeling the fear, facing it, and fucking going for it anyway. That was like that with skateboarding. It's like you look, like a big like set of stairs or something. It's like just for your own sake, maybe 5, 6, 7 stairs, something like that. And you're looking down up, from the top, and you get this like rush of adrenaline, and it's like I could fucking hurt myself pretty significantly if I don't stick this. Two, but like the more you do it, the less you think about falling, and the more you think about just sticking it and fucking just how good that's gonna feel to fucking just come down and land it. That's an awesome feeling. And I feel, I wouldn't say bad for people that have never experienced that, but it's like you're really missing out on a fucking awesome feeling. To stick something like that, especially when it's intense and it's kind of scary, and you had to go fucking fast and you could have hurt yourself. But yeah, with that being said, I think I'm about. So thanks everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, and all the social networking things. Appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. And until the next now, God bless.